You know, you've all been through the 101-day, well, most of you have been through 101-day training in the past, and this is a continuation of that. And you know, what's the definition of why do we do it? And the real reason is because, you know, right now, this is during that time of the year. You're going to see some statistics later. You know, we're in transition. Mentally, physically, whatever it is we do, we're in that transition of that time of year where we go from that wintertime blah where you sit around in the house and the weather's starting to get nice and it's time to get outside and do some activities and having a good time. And with that comes some risk. And you know, when we think in terms of risk, they're associated with activities such as boating and sports, all those things that happen outside that have that greater potential of injury as opposed to TV and potato chips that you did, you know, during the holiday season. So this is where all it really takes is just visibility and thinking about it. You're going to see some stats here in a few minutes that talk about, you know, really that show on the bar what some of the increased risks are and what time of year they're hit. But it's all about thinking. And I've mentioned several times when we think about the safety programs, how even since I've been here, we always talk about the BPP program and what it does for the installation. But I will say from a personal standpoint, you know, I think more about safety than I used to when I got here. You know, I call it my Ray Aguilar voice. I'm in the garage and I've got the saw going, or I'm going to grab the ladder, or I'm going to stand on a chair instead of a ladder, and there's Ray Aguilar saying, "What are you doing?" Or I'm not using hearing protection, and I got Ray's little voice. And that, I may or may not change what I'm going to do. But what's important about that is that voice is there. And I think more about safety than I did before. And with that, hopefully, you know, I've avoided some injuries. So I got some stats. Beth gave me some stats earlier. You know, I like stats because what it does is it tracks programs that say, are these things really effective? Do bringing you in when you could be doing other things, working hard, doing things for the base, do bringing you in and getting preached at about safety, does that buy you anything? And based on the statistics, the answer to that is yes. And let me throw out some stats. I'm going to do a bad news guy first because I like ending on a positive. So the bad news is, and this is specific to Marines and sailors, is we've had 13 sailors and 9 Marines that lost their lives last year. 5 of them were alcohol related, 3 motor accidents, 1 pedestrian, and 1 recreational off-duty. Now the difference between that is in 2013, we had 26 fatalities, 33 fatalities in 2012, and 31 in 2011. So the easy answer is you're seeing a downward trend. That's good news, but you know it always ends up with that typical statement of 1 is too many. So I guess 10 years from now, if you incrementally go down, we should be at 0 and still having these classes for fear that we're going to get those numbers back up. Of the 13 fatal traffic mishaps, 9 of them were motorcycles. Where's my motorcycle riders in here? We don't have anybody that rides a motorcycle. Where you at, Eccles? Yeah, I can't see it because you're hid behind the camera. Well, at the end of the day, you know, so we got no motorcycle in this Eccles? Okay, good to go. Then I'm not going to preach about it because you all make the right decision. Don't ride those stinking things. Oh, that's right. Mr. Son's thinking about buying one. I forgot. There you go. He's got the desire, but not the bike. So, you know, this is where I throw in. About 10 days ago, I actually came upon a fatal motorcycle accident as I was coming to work, coming to the gym. And I mentioned that point is it was a woman. She was a woman, and she was wearing the reason I mention this is she was wearing soup to nuts that doctrinal PP, personal protective equipment, that a rider should wear. You know, the Kevlar jacket, the trousers, boots, full face helmet, gloves, everything. And they were also Kawasaki colors, so they were bright green. There ain't no way in heck you could miss this woman. And later on, because I figured it'd be in the paper, I looked up to see what had happened. And what had happened was she was doing everything right. This is what scares me about a motorcycle. Is this woman, she was 45, this woman was doing everything right. Cruising down the road, she was off Dale Evan Parkway, and a 17-year-old girl, 06:30 in the morning, just pulled out in front of her, just like that. I don't know what she was doing. You know, you're going to get a texting class, or just not paying attention, but everything was being done right on the part of the rider. That's what scares me about motorcycles. And so what do you do to prevent that? I don't know. Drive a car. So, where do we go? So let's go to the good news. You know, again, 101 tends to be about bad, but remember why we're having it, because this is the best time of year. We're all going to have a good time. We're all going to enjoy ourselves, and we're going to do what we've learned in our training, and that's going to produce statistics. The good news is that over the last 5 years, in the areas that I've just discussed, we've had a 30% decrease on average over 5 years. 15% from last year, and 10 less, as many motorcycle fatalities as the previous year. So the numbers are with us. And then under all categories, cars, motorcycles, pedestrian, 30% below that 5-year average. Apparently I just said that twice. So, okay, good to go. 30% reduction. Now this is called plug for BPP. When we think in terms of, we've transitioned now from those activities from outside and those national level statistics to this base. What has your activity in being a safe environment, BPP, meant to this installation? Well, I don't know if you are familiar with the term DART and TISR rates. That's what I report, really Ray reports up to MCI West, and that's captured. The TISR rate is the total case incident rates. We are 67% below the national average since our BPP designation. Our DART rate, which is days away from work, restricted transfer from work, we are 57% below the national average. So we're actually tracking those events. We have the ability to understand, how do you track a non-event? Well, it's just based on national average statistics, and that's pretty impressive. Who's to say what person in this room has avoided an injury or a fatality, God forbid, but an injury or damaged government equipment? Who would that have happened? We don't know, because it didn't happen. Because we are more diligent in our decision. And at the end of the day, since 2008, our designation of BPP, we calculated that $4.1 million have been saved in damages and FIFA claims and all that other since, again, that BPP site designation. All of that's significant. But at the end of the day, while all those statistics are significant, this is all, it comes down to people. And that's, we all take care of each other, and we see an unsafe condition, we correct it, not just because we're rules Nazis, it's because, you know what, Carlos, I care about you. I don't want you to do something that's unsafe. Keith, you go ahead and do what you want. We'll let you do. In fact, if we could stop you at the gate and remove your seatbelt. We all care about everybody, and that's why we do this. This isn't about rules, this is about caring for each other. Does anybody have any questions for me? I got to go through this with headquarters battalion, so I will depart the area. No questions. You got it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Right now, basically. So we have the potential for a lot of increased risks, and why do we have them? A lot of work habits are bad habits, so we want to make sure we pay attention to that. But also off-duty habits are really hard to break sometimes. So because we're creatures of habit, we have bad habits sometimes, but we become complacent with those. So once complacency starts hitting in, we have other issues. So some of the areas we're going to focus on, how Marines and sailors get hurt, along with civilian Marines as well. Alcohol awareness, water safety, off-duty risk management, grills, firearms, sports injuries, cars, motorcycle, and heat prevention injuries. As the Colonel said, 13 sailors and 9 Marines lost their lives last summer. That's too many. That's 22 too many. Little stat right there. Summer's more dangerous? Absolutely. You can see it by the stats right there. You got spring, which is people start getting their motorcycles out. They start getting a little bit coming out of their hibernation from the winter, and they start getting a little antsy, and they get out there. Once summer hits, alcohol starts getting involved, and not paying attention to the roads, all sorts of different things. As you can see, during hibernation in the winter, it goes down. So summer traffic deaths also dominate during the summer times. And that's another real key factor when it comes to fatalities. So traffic is a big issue. So who's at risk when it comes to the Marines or any military? The E5 or E3s through E5s. The main reason, E1s, E2s, they're just getting their first paychecks. They don't have a lot of money for vehicles, so they're kind of stuck. But once they make E3, they start getting money for their vehicles. They're buying them, they're going out, they're doing things. Usually when you see traffic-related deaths, alcohol, it usually has to do with about an E3, E4, E5 area. We make up 59% of all Marines and 50% of the sailors that get killed. But 80% or 86% of last summer's fatalities were due to that. So really, it's a high increase there. Alcohol, biggest problem we have with our military right now. Kills and injures Marines and civilian Marines every summer. Drinking facts, part of the problem. People don't know their limits. They don't know how much they can absorb. They don't, it depends on your size, your weight, if you're a male or female, how much alcohol has been consumed, the amount of food that you've eaten prior or during, and the use of medications. All those factors really play a key role in how much you can handle. Water safety, biggest thing, learn how to swim. If you don't know how to swim, I don't recommend going past your waist in some of these areas, especially if you don't know what the drop-offs are. If you don't know how to swim, definitely swim where lifeguards are present. Keep a close eye on kids, not just your own kids, but all other kids too. All you got to do is imagine if those were your kids that drowned. Obey signs about water conditions. You go out to these beaches, you see signs for riptides, you see them for pollution, you see them for different things. If it says no swimming, don't swim in them. And know your limits, okay? Know your limits, know your swimming ability. And even then, we heard about 2 Navy SEALs drowning in a pool back east at Little Creek, okay? You'd think those are the best swimmers in the world, but something went wrong. So, definitely pay attention, know your limits. So there's there's many reasons why alcohol and water can be dangerous. I mean, from drowning to boating to jet skis, all sorts of different common, things that can go wrong with alcohol and water. Heat as well. People go out to the river, they get drunk, they're out on the boats, they crash their boats into other boats, or the heat itself, out there at out at Havasu in Bullhead City, that heat can get so hot. The more you drink, the worse you're going to get, and then you got other issues. So we're going to talk about the best way of escaping a rip current and ways to protect your kids around water. The biggest thing about it, don't panic. If you're in a rip current, don't panic. Swim parallel to the shore, just like the picture shows up there. Swim away from, the rip current itself. So swim, like I said, it's parallel. But rough undertows as well are just as dangerous, and you have undertows just about anywhere in the around California. So you got to be real careful. Watch the water. Boating safety. If you operate a boat, you have to take the Coast Guard approved boating safety classes, and ensure everybody on the boat has a personal flotation device. That is extremely important, especially when it comes to the laws on children. Manage your risks off duty as well. It's not just for work, it's for everything you do. Plan for the worst case scenario. Have a sound plan, follow it through, and adjust as needed. The thing is, a risk assessment or risk management is very easy to do. We take risks every day. Okay? We take risks getting on the freeway. We take risks going into banks. You just never know what's going to happen. The thing is, if you're paying attention, you're observing, you know what's around your peripheral vision, pay attention to that, because you can adjust in a blink of an eye. You can adjust your risk management. Walk the walk. Don't take shortcuts. Don't be in a hurry. If you know, it says if junior people see you doing something wrong, they figure it's okay. That's true. But the thing is, set the example. Set the good example. Pay attention to what you're doing. The thing is, it doesn't matter if you're the lowest paid person on the totem pole or the lowest ranking Marine or whatever it is, you can still set the example. You know right from wrong. You don't have to do it. So by doing that, if you're the lowest ranking and you're setting a good example, other people are going to see that. And then they're going to see you're doing it correctly. So, you know, it really does make a difference. Buddy systems. 2 heads are not always better than 1. We all know that. They always say 2 heads are better than 1 because you're thinking a little bit smarter. Not necessarily. We all have friends that have gotten us into trouble, or we've gotten them into trouble, so we were the bad heads, whatever the case. But choose your buddies carefully, especially when it comes to alcohol, especially when it comes to boating, when it comes to doing certain things. Do not let a bonehead, as it says, get you into trouble. It's not worth it. Or killed. Don't hesitate to speak up, okay? If they're not doing something right, or they're doing something that's going to get them in danger, or you in danger, or somebody else in danger, speak up. Don't let them do it. Grilling safety. Keep your grills about 3 feet away from your facilities, either your house, whatever, your garage. Keep it back. Use starter fluid that's made for charcoal. Don't use gasoline unless you want to see a little bit of a boom, but don't do it. If you have gas grills, make sure they're in proper working order, okay? Check them out. Every summer, if you haven't used it during the winter, turn it on, spray it with some soap and water, a spray bottle, and if you see any bubbles on those hoses or anything like that, it's time to replace it, okay? It's very important. The thing is, you don't want any propane escaping and hitting a flame, and then you got more serious problems, including burns and injuries. And you don't want to be in a burn warning. So make sure your valves work. If your little clicker that starts it doesn't work, and you're throwing matches in to get it to work, time to replace that little clicker. If they're not that much, they're really easy to replace too. Firearms, it's a big issue, not just during the summer, but all year round. Teach your kids not to touch guns, okay? Or if you're going to teach your kids, make sure they're taught properly to use them only in the presence of yourself, okay? And you're not allowed to do things with it. Treat every gun as if it was loaded. Assume nothing and always check. Check it when you pull it out. When you've done firing it, make sure there's nothing left in the chamber or in the clip. While target shooting, know what targets are behind you. Know what's behind those targets. Hopefully, there's a little bit of a hill, okay, that the bullets are going into. We all know bullets can travel at a very long range for miles if there's nothing behind it and there's no stopping it. Always point the firearm down in a safe direction and never point it at people. Store your guns unloaded. Hopefully you have a trigger lock for it. Keep your ammo in a separate place and locked up as well. You know, keep it away from the kids. Keep everything locked up so they can't get to it. Some of the biggest ways Marines and sailors get hurt got hurt during 2014. Basketball, football, jogging, running, baseball, softball, soccer, biking. What's a common denominator there? Sports. Absolutely. So summer sports safety. Just like any athlete, you want to stretch. You want to make sure your muscles are, a little bit limber. Stay hydrated. And we're going to hear about that in a little bit. But always stay hydrated. Water. And wear proper gear, wear proper footwear, depending on what you're doing, but make sure you're wearing proper footwear. And know your limits, okay? If you're out there playing football and you've been out of shape for about 20 years, that's not a good limit to be in, so make sure you know what you're doing. Use trips for your trip for any Marines. I think I only got one Marine in here. But the trips, the travel risk planning system, it's an online risk assessment, helps you recognize and reduce travel risks. Usually for Marines, supervisory involvement is key, and you have the option online and downloadable PDF. There's a link at the bottom, so even civilians, if you go to that link, you can do that, and it gives you a lot of good information on that for travel. So of course, we got the desert heat. We're in the desert. We got the flag conditions, the heat monitoring. We already began that on May 1st. It goes until September 30th. It goes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's the busiest work time of the day. It's also the hottest time of the day. Base employees are usually notified by email, phone calls, or supervisors should be telling their employees at all times what color the flag is, and they should know whether to send them outside to work or not, or to use a buddy system. Supervisors should also be watching their employees, making sure they're hydrated. Flags flown on this part of the base, at Building 15 at the headquarters, and also at the front gate. Out at out at Yermo, the maintenance center runs that portion of it, so make sure they know what's going on out there. So you got your green flag at the lowest, then it goes to yellow as it continues up, red, and then black being the most serious. Okay, a lot of people think that it's based on regular temperature. It's not. It's called a wet bulb, and there's a couple different variances on why, on how it works. So you might be in your car saying it's 99 degrees, why isn't it black flag? Or it's only 89 degrees and it's a black flag. It all depends on all the conditions that we're experiencing here. So with that, I'm going to introduce Michelle Wolf from OC Health, and she's going to talk about the heat safety. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm the occupational health nurse here on the base. And I came to talk to you today. Is that my allowed to push buttons today or no? Oh, yes. We don't trust me just a second. I wanted to talk to you today about heat stress. Well, actually, they asked me to talk to you about heat stress, heat exhaustion, heat stroke. At this level, what's happening here. At this level, your heartbeat does this. At this level, you're sweating, you're not sweating. And what I wanted to say to you is, it doesn't matter which level. We don't want to hit any of those, okay? If you're out in the heat, you start to have the effects of the heat hit you, and you're really feeling it, but you're able to hydrate, you're doing okay. Go sit in the cool air and drink some water and cool off and settle down and rethink what you're doing and how you're handling yourself. Anything above that is a 911 call. If you're not sure and your friend is acting funky and you think they're overheated and they're saying no, 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 but they're not acting better within about 5 minutes, it's a 911 call. Let them come out and evaluate on scene. They evaluate, they give you a little water, you do better, then you say I don't want to go to the hospital, you go back to work, life is good, okay? But the name of the game is, let's not do any of that, okay? Let's have a plan to stay really well hydrated. And what I've learned through the years of being on this base and being a nurse and living in the desert and working ER for 10 years is we are all on the same hydration plan. It's called, oops, I guess I'm not Christopher again. I'm going to try and drink more. How many people are on this plan? It's summer and I'm going to try and drink more. That's my plan. How does that work out through the years? So I tried to drink more. Did you? How did you feel last year? Did you drink enough fluids? Do you know that you drank enough fluids? How many of you absolutely drank enough fluids last summer, all summer long, every day? 2 guys. All right. 3. All right. Did you drink enough? Did you drink it consistently throughout the day? Or did you drink a lot in the morning, not so much throughout the afternoon, and at the end of the day you tried to pick yourself back up and now you're going home? Monitor yourself. How many of you monitored a plan to stay on board with hydration? Like you plugged into a plan. What was your plan?
I've had heat exhaustion before. Not full stroke, but heat exhaustion before. I've gone through heat injury. So it's something I keep monitoring very closely. Once I get to the point, I got a pretty idea. When I start to feel a certain level of heat, I'm done. Whatever was going on, I'm done. I just go back to the house and I wait till it cools off.
Cool. Okay. We don't want you to even get into that place where you're really feeling it. Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is my monitor. I don't
Cool.
read it throughout the day.
Cool, we have a plan.
Yeah.
This time around, we want you to monitor yourself and keep an eye on your buddies. Did any of us do all of that last year? Okay, let's try this again this year. Here's our new plan. Ready? Here we go. We're going to have a container plan. Okay? She's got a container plan. Hold up your container plan. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen. All right. Choose a container. I'm not trying to be funny. Choose a container that works for you. Find something that works for you that's in an amount that you can say, I need to drink 5 of these, or I need to drink 6 of these, or I need to drink. How much water are we all supposed to drink a day? A gallon? you have on average? No clue. Great. How about liters? How many liters a day? 2, 4, some? Yes, okay. How about, we're gonna do 32 ounces, or one of these. If you're 150 pounds, number one, I don't like you, but 3 of these a day, okay? 3 a day plus 3 at 150 pounds. At 200 pounds, I need 4 plus of these a day. So at 180, you need between 3 and 4 of these a day. Bring it on up above 200 pounds, it's 4 quarts. At 240 pounds, it's 5 plus. That's if you're sitting in an office, not doing outdoor yard work, not going for a run around the track, not doing any of those kind of things. Sedentary lifestyle, those are your basics. So if you're about 160 to 210, you need to get up above 3, leaning more towards 4 quarts a day, or 4 32 ounces a day, or a gallon, okay? A gallon a day. How many of you are drinking a gallon a day pretty consistently? I don't like you, Millie. I'm trying, but I'm not doing so good. But what I do find is that once I figure out how much I need a day, I would like to see if we can get a plan. When are you going to drink it? Because here's what we're doing, folks. Anybody not walk around with a water bottle all the time? Right? We're all walking around, we got our water, but are we drinking it? No, we sip it. We come out of a meeting, we take a couple sips, and we go to our next meeting. We take a couple sips. It's not getting it done, okay? We got to get a gallon in roughly a day, a gallon. For me, I'm a break person. One before first break, one before lunch, one before second break, and one before I go home. I am acing my water plan, okay? If I stay on board with that. 16 ounces, which is half of that, before every meal. In about 4 months, you're going to drop 5 pounds. Just because you're full. So for some people, if you haven't had your water before when you sit down to drink your water, pound it. Don't sip. Folks, we're sipping. How many of you have suddenly said, I'm going to drink my water? You drank your water that day, you went home, your mouth was so dry, you were dying. Okay? The pH in your mouth, the saliva in your mouth, is not used to use taking sips all day long. You keep rinsing the saliva out of your mouth. So it messes up the pH. You go home, my mouth was really dry, I couldn't stand that. I don't want to have a dry mouth, so you stop drinking water. So we want you to drink when you drink and have a plan to get it in at consistent time frames. Monitor and map your plan for 3 days. That's my request today. And just see how that goes. What you're going to find out is that as simple as it sounds, drinking more water is not an easy thing. This is a little tough. After 3 days, figure out what worked, what didn't work, and then adjust as needed. Do you need a different water? Do you need multiple waters? Do you need a different plan? And then always, because we know this works, partner with your people. Okay? Partner with your people. This is my plan. I'm going to drink this. Encourage me. Somebody encourage me to drink this before my first break. I swear I mean it this time. I'm really going to drink. Go ahead. What about the other drinks? Here I am talking about water. What drinks are we talking about? Iced tea, coffee. What else is out there? All the caffeinated drinks. Monsters, Red Bull, Rock Stars. The Monsters, Red Bulls, and Rock Stars are liquid advertising in a can. You are paying for somebody's condo on Maui. Okay? And they're going to do that by giving you a whole bunch of natural and synthetic stimulants that will wire you up. Boy, it feels like energy. It feels great. Now you can get a lot more done. Except you're really stressed out now and you can't focus very well, so you're typing really hard. But you're not necessarily getting more work done. Problem is that you go home at the end of the day and your shoulders are still up here. You're stressed out. So what do you do now? Have a drink. Here we go. Have a cocktail. Have a glass of wine or 3. And then you go to sleep with the alcohol on board, which messes up your sleep cycle. You don't go down into deep REM sleep, which is where your brain rinses itself off at the end of the day. So now you're beat up. You tossed and turned. You tossed and turned. Come back to work. You have so much to do today. Only now you really need the Monster is a formula, 2 waters, 1 sports drink. What I mean by sports drink is something that ends in aid, one of those Powerade, this aid, that aid, Gatorade. Basically something that is just sugar, salt, potassium, and some food coloring with some flavoring in it, okay? It does help put back the electrolytes. You don't need to drink constant electrolytes because you're only losing them at a specific rate, and if you continue to pound the electrolytes, you're going to take your sodium, your sugar, and your potassium and crank it too high. So if I'm out really sweating, then it's 2 of these to 1 of a sports drink.
Summertime injuries can be prevented. The key is to utilize the same safe work practices and attitudes you use at work and apply them to your summertime off-the-job activities. In this video, we will spotlight some common summertime hazards and provide some safety tips designed to keep you safe while you get away from it all this summer. And the first place to start is with our getaway vehicle.
Before going on vacation or when the summer temperatures really start to heat up, it's a good idea to have your vehicle checked out by an automotive service professional. Or, if you know how, there are many items you can inspect yourself. Besides checking belts, hoses, and fluids under the hood, you should also check the wiper blades, air pressure in the tires, tire tread wear, brake lights, and turn signals. And finally, make sure you know where the jack and spare tire are located, and how to use them in case you find yourself with a flat tire.
When we think of summertime, we think of fun in the sun, but the sun is hot, so we have to be careful. There are a variety of heat-related illnesses that may be experienced during the summer months. The most common, sunburn.
Overexposure to the sun's ultraviolet radiation causes sunburn. The longer the exposure, the worse the burn. Various types of sunscreens are available to protect your skin from the sun's harmful effects. The average person requires sunscreen with a rating of 30 SPF, but people with fairer skin should use a product with a higher rating. Reapply often, especially after swimming or sweating. If you will be spending a lot of time in the sun, loose-fitting, light-colored clothing that covers the skin can provide even more protection. A wide brim hat also helps protect those frequently burned areas at the top of your head, ears, nose, and forehead.
The sun's ultraviolet radiation can also be harmful to our eyes. Protecting them by wearing sunglasses, which filter out UV rays, can reduce eye strain and make our time in the sun more enjoyable. Many of us participate in sports during the summer, and this requires extra caution.
First, it's important to warm up and stretch your muscles before participating in any type of sport. Proper warm-up and stretching can prevent injury. Perhaps most importantly, stay within your limits. Many summer outings include pickup games, such as volleyball, kickball, soccer, or softball. Many of us do not play these sports regularly, and our bodies may not be conditioned for the running, diving, or sliding that may occur.
Many injuries occur when we overdo it in this manner. Just remember that you don't make a living playing softball or kickball, and trying to beat the throw to the plate is not worth suffering an injury and missing work. Speaking of work, we're used to wearing protective equipment while doing certain jobs. We know it protects us from hazards. Similarly, many summertime activities also require protective equipment. Make sure you understand what protective gear is required for any activity you participate in, and wear it.
Just like your protective gear at work, this vital equipment does you no good if you don't wear it.
Another outdoor activity that requires some precautionary measures is barbecuing or grilling out. Barbecue and grill mishaps result in more than 4,500 fires and 500 injuries each year. Don't let a fun activity like outdoor cooking be spoiled by a needless injury. Follow these tips to stay safe while grilling.
Before using a gas grill for the first time this summer, make sure the cylinder hose and fittings don't have any leaks. Turn the gas on slowly, and then apply a soapy water solution to the hose and connections. Bubbles will appear if there is a leak. If you discover a leak, turn the gas off and have the grill repaired. Do not use a grill that has a gas leak. Gas and charcoal grills must only be used outdoors. If used indoors or inside a tent, they pose both a fire hazard and the risk of exposing people to toxic gases. Place the grill in an open area and out of pedestrian traffic. Establish a 3-foot safe zone around the grill and make sure any children understand that they are not to enter this zone.
Of course, summer is not one continuous vacation and a cookout. For many of us, summer means cutting grass, weeding, starting outdoor projects, and home repairs. Not surprisingly, these activities are also a source of summertime injuries.
First, make sure to dress appropriately for the job. You should wear sturdy shoes or boots. Long sleeve shirts and long pants offer protection from thorns, poisonous plants, debris thrown from lawnmowers or power tools, even insect stings. Be familiar with the operator's manual before using any electric or gas-powered lawn equipment. Always wear any PPE recommended by the equipment manufacturer, such as safety glasses and earplugs.
Wow, just watching all that yard work makes me hot. So it's not surprising that so many of us flock to pools, rivers, lakes, and beaches to cool off. Of course, these areas have their own hazards that we must be aware of to avoid injury.
When going to the pool, lake, or beach to swim, don't go it alone. Take a buddy or make sure other people are present. Don't swim out beyond your ability to swim back. And be sure to alert yourself to local conditions, such as drop-offs, currents, or wildlife that may make swimming unsafe. Small children and non-swimmers should not be allowed to go around the water without supervision. Verify water depth before diving, and never dive into any water unless you are confident it is deep enough and free of obstructions. Many serious neck and spinal cord injuries occur from diving into shallow water.
Many people have the opportunity to operate various types of watercraft during the summer months. Be aware that watercraft have unique operating and handling characteristics. Also, there are very specific rules of the road governing their operation. It's a good idea to take a boating safety course before operating any watercraft. In fact, many areas now require it. Here are a few things to be aware of.
Before leaving the dock, everyone in the boat should be fitted with a life jacket. Don't overload your boat. Boats are only safe and stable when its capacity is not exceeded. Do not allow passengers to ride while sitting on the bow. This is not only dangerous, but also illegal in most areas. Always stay focused when driving the boat. Be on the lookout for other boats, swimmers, and obstacles. Maintain a safe speed for the conditions present. Never drink alcohol while operating any type of watercraft. Just like driving a car, alcohol impedes your abilities and places everyone around you in danger. Many people have the opportunity to operate personal watercraft during the summer. These are popular rental items at many beaches and lakes. Have a skilled person instruct you in operation of the vehicle and read the operator's manual before heading out on the water. Operate personal watercraft in open water, well clear of shore, docks, and other vessels. On-the-water collisions and fatalities involving personal watercraft are all too common during the 101 days of summer. Please operate these vehicles responsibly at all times.
One danger of summer that is often overlooked is how often we find ourselves out of our normal environment. When traveling or visiting new and different areas, we're often not familiar with the unique hazards and safety rules that apply. Here are some examples.
This is a nice looking stretch of beach, and a visitor might choose to take a quick swim. However, they could easily become the next victim of its dangerous currents and undertow. Many people play golf while traveling and wouldn't think twice about retrieving a ball from the edge of this water. But the locals know better and gladly let the resident alligators keep any wayward balls. A quick hike before sunset can be the end of a perfect day camping. Just be sure you take the 1-mile trail that loops back to camp, rather than the 10-mile expert trail that leads over the mountains and has no water along the way. These are just 3 examples. There are countless more. Without local knowledge, a visitor can easily place himself at risk, similar to a job hazard analysis at work. Before traveling, it's a good idea to do a little research, ask some questions, and read and obey any warning signs you encounter.
In this program, we've discussed some steps you can take to have a fun and safe summer. But keep in mind that none of these safety precautions will do any good if you don't make your safety a top priority in each and every one of summer's 101 days. You owe it to your friends, your family, and yourself to make a commitment to stay safe and injury-free while vacationing and enjoying summertime activities. Now go out and have a great summer and a safe summer.
My name's Brian. I do work in the safety office, and one of the many programs that I do in the safety office is traffic safety. So with that being said, I'm going to talk to you all about an epidemic that's happening in the United States right now. And it is an epidemic, okay? And that's distracted driving. And the leading cause of distracted driving in the United States is use of cell phone, personal communication device. Okay. You're 4 times more likely to get into an accident if you're talking on a cell phone, whether it's hands-free device or not. 4 times more likely. What's shocking about that is if you're drinking and driving, you're 4 times more likely to get into an accident if you're drinking and driving. So what does that tell you? That tells you that you are just as impaired to operate your motor vehicle if you're talking on the phone, just as much as if you got behind the wheel of a car. Now, none of us would let somebody get behind the wheel of a car after they've been drinking, right? You'll say, hey, give me your keys. You can spend the night. I got a nice comfy couch right there. Or you cut them off and you wait for a period of time where they're still able to, or they're able to drive their motor vehicle safely. But it's the norm to talk on the cell phone. And the law even says you can talk on the cell phone whether it's hands-free. But it's just as dangerous as if you was holding it up to your ear.
How do you get the statistics for that? For the hands-free one?
Studies. National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration and the National Safety Council and the CDC.
They compare it to the talking, I mean like separate.
Yes.
A separate, this
Yeah.
and a separate for it. Do you have the number?
Huh?
Do you have the number for it?
The numbers?
The statistics.
Yeah, you're 4 times more likely.
Across the board, you don't have the different for each.
No.
I'm just curious.
No. I can tell you how many people in the United States got killed last year from talking on the cell phone.
Hands-free
Huh?
versus hands-free versus,
No.
oh.
No. They've done a lot of tests, and one real good test, you can pull it up online and watch it, was Mythbusters. They did a test where, did you see that episode?
I haven't seen it.
Right? It was no different, whether talking on a cell phone or using a hands-free device, you're still just as distracted. Yeah. Now let's talk about texting and driving. When you're texting and driving, you're 8 times more likely to get into a motor vehicle accident. It was 22,853. That's the number of people live in Barstow.
Teenagers. Texting, but not talking, I see. You know you guys could have a conversation, right?
We are.
Hey, Jack. Jack, are you excited about cake? Yeah, buddy. Let's take a look at that cake. Oh, yummy. And birthday booty. So important. Here are the folks. Here the other men folks. Talking about man stuff. Say hi, men folks.
Hi, men folks.
Nice. Hey, birthday boy. How you doing? Got another foot in the grave? Now that you're older, how does it feel? Oh, come on.
You need to get the shot.
Alright, my turn. Happy birthday, honey.
And my baby girl in there.
And she wants to say happy birthday too.
And I want to say happy birthday too, Dave. Hey, Dave, look what you did.
The day I met Dave was probably one of the best days of my life. We went out with my best friend Sarah. It was she and her boyfriend Justin who set me up on a blind date with Dave. Oh, hands down, that was the worst date of my life. He tried hard, but nothing went right.
So I convinced Maggie to give Dave another shot. I knew that they'd be good for each other. Dave and I grew up together. I moved to Clinton with my mom when I was 7, right after my dad had died. Dave lived next door, so we became buddies pretty quick. And man, we did everything together. You name it, we did it.
Our next date, it went better. And then the date after that, it was even better. Dave, he became my best friend. He became my everything. He was the one. Well, 6 months after that, we were engaged. And then 6 months after that, we were married. And then a year after that, we had Jack.
I was the best man at the wedding, actually. He was so happy that day. And 4 years and a kid later, with one on the way, they were just as happy.
Waitressing at the Fleetwood was my first job. I just turned 18 and been working hard all summer to save enough money to buy my first car. I finally got it. It felt really cool, you know.
Now, we were both still working at the factory in town. Dave and I were carpooling to work. We'd take the money we were saving on gas and we'd go out to lunch down the road at the diner. That week it was Dave's turn to drive.
I was just wrapping up my shift at the diner. And I was walking out to my car, talking to Lucy on my cell phone. I don't really remember what we were talking about. Stupid stuff, really. Boys, clothes. We were making plans to go out that night. I was going to drive so I could show off my new car. And it was kind of funny, I remember Lucy asking me while the noise was on my end. And the same with the door as I got in the car, the key in the ignition. And I told her it was nothing. I was just leaving work. And we just kept talking.
So we headed out. Clinton has one main road that goes through town with lots of trees, so you better be paying attention to where you're going. Now, Dave hated wearing the seatbelt. I wanted to say something to him. I did one time. He just looked at me and said, "You're starting to sound like my wife." Well, as Dave and I were making our way up the road, we were talking about Maggie's ultrasound that was supposed to be later that day.
Lucy and I were talking about our plans for the night. Joking around about the boy I liked, I think. It's the kind of conversation we had every day. Nothing special. I heard the phone beep. I'd just gotten a text message, and I told Lucy to hang up while I checked it. I only looked down for a second. It felt like a second. Just a second.
It took me a couple of seconds to get my bearings. I felt something running down my cheek. I reached up, and my face was covered in blood. The car had been thrown off the road. We hit a tree. Dave was just lying there. He was out. He looked like he was out. So I called his name. I remember. He looked kind of pale. I couldn't wake him up.
When I looked down at that text message, it must have drifted over the yellow lines. Didn't even see them coming. By the time I looked up, it was too late. I swerved off the road and lost control of the car.
I was on the phone with her when it happened. I heard Kayla scream and there was a loud noise and then nothing. I called her name a couple of times and when she didn't answer, I freaked. I had this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. I called 911. I mean, I just knew something was wrong, so I explained that I thought there had been an accident out on 92nd Street, and unfortunately, I was right.
I could hear the sirens. I knew that help was coming. Dave hadn't regained consciousness, and I was starting to freak out a little. I didn't want to leave him. That's about the time that I saw the lights. Firefighters, police, and EMTs, they helped me get out of the car. But I wouldn't get in the ambulance until I knew that Dave was out. The EMTs did everything possible, but Dave just wouldn't wake up.
I got out of my car. I was dizzy. But when I saw the other car, I had to get over there and make sure they were okay. I didn't even realize it was Lucy's Uncle Dave until I looked inside. I can't believe it was Dave. Of all people.
Kayla, can you tell me what happened here today?
The firefighters and everybody just showed up around that time. They watched them pull Dave out. My thoughts swung over to Lucy's Aunt Maggie and the kids.
Oh my God, Billy!
I started crying.
Well, I was at home with Jack that day, and I was actually anticipating Dave early. I was about 20 weeks along with our second child, and we had an ultrasound scheduled. We were going to find out the sex of the baby. Dave was so excited. He was sure it was a girl. I was startled when the doorbell rang. There were a couple of police officers there. I knew.
I was waiting around hoping that Kayla would call me back and let me know that she was okay. So when the phone rang, I didn't even look at the caller ID. I just picked it up. It was my Aunt Maggie. She told me that she needed me to come over and watch Jack for her. That Uncle David had been in a terrible car accident. She needed to go to the hospital, and she wouldn't tell me more than that. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What are the chances that Kayla and Uncle Dave were both in car accidents? What if it was the same accident?
It's strange what happens to your body in a moment like that. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. It was just like my whole world stopped. It just stopped. And there's no noise. There's nothing. And then I felt this incredible pain in my chest. It was like I felt my heart break. right at that moment. How am I supposed to raise 2 kids without him? How am I supposed to tell the kids that their daddy is not coming home? I mean, Dave was Jack's hero.
I was on the phone with Kayla when all of this went down. Did I cause it? At that point, I had no idea what happened, but I couldn't help think that this was somehow my fault.
Police were asking me what happened. And I told them what I thought had happened. I'd only looked down for a second. That I was sorry. I was so sorry. I remember asking if Dave and Justin were okay, and I remember crying hysterically when they told me Dave was dead.
I remember thinking, how could Dave be dead? He was just there. We weren't even going that fast. We weren't doing anything reckless. I just couldn't understand it. If Dave had been wearing his seatbelt, he would have walked away from that accident just like me. I wish I had said something to him. He'd be here today if I had just had the guts to say something. Maggie would have her husband. Those kids would have a father.
At night, I had to call Dave's parents and tell them that their son was dead. Now, the next day, I was just on some kind of autopilot. I had to plan the funeral, and I had to take care of Jack and the little baby growing inside me. You know, I remember being in denial about everything until I saw him lying there.
None of this would have happened if I hadn't been on the phone. After the accident, things just haven't been the same. It's hard when you played a role in someone's death.
I have all of this guilt about everything that happened, and I should feel guilty. I should.
I quit my job at the diner. Couldn't bear seeing Dave's coworkers day after day. And in a small town like Clinton, everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows what happened. And no one says anything.
And then I remember the anger. The anger at Kayla for being on her cell phone. At Lucy for distracting Kayla. At Justin for not having the balls to tell Dave to wear his seatbelt. And Dave not wearing his seatbelt. Not myself. I knew Dave didn't like to wear his seatbelt. But I never pressed the issue. I wish I had.
Aunt Maggie still has a hard time talking with me, looking at me. I don't blame her. I just wish I had told Kayla to call me back. Uncle Dave would still be here. That's all I have to do.
Dave is supposed to coach Jack's t-ball team this year. He was supposed to walk our daughter down the aisle when she gets married. You know, all those things that they'll miss out on now. All those firsts in a child's life. Those moments. My first day at school. First bike ride. First school play. And he won't be here for any of them. I miss him so much.
Look what you did!
Hey, let me get that.
Come on, come here, come here.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, birthday boy, come here. Look at this guy, another year older, still so handsome, another year wiser. How does it feel? Pretty good?
Feels okay.
Happy birthday, baby. I love you.
Love you too.
Forever.
Oh, come on. Get a room.
So that means if you took your eyes off the road, you just traveled 525 feet without looking at the road. Anything could happen in that time. Anything could happen. So here's my challenge to you. If you do receive, you're sitting at the house and you receive a phone call, and it's one of your friends, loved ones, or whoever, and they say, hey, what you doing? It's, just watching TV. What are you doing? Oh, I'm driving home from work. Okay, when you get home, call me back. Click. And if they try calling you back, don't answer the phone. And then when they get home, they call you back. Or you wait until you know that, okay, they're probably home by now. You call them back and say, hey, look, what you was doing was unsafe. I should probably just save your life. Or if you know that somebody is driving, they're coming home from work or they're going to work and you want to send them a text message, don't text them until you know they're at work. Right? If you know somebody's out and about, don't call them, don't text them, or whatever. Now, for you as a car driver, what you do is when you get into the car, turn the volume off on your phone just like you did before you came into this class. As soon as the law was passed, I never talked on the phone. My buddies used to call me all the time when they knew that I was on the road, just to see if I'd answer my phone. Okay? But I bought my wife a Jeep 2 years ago. Right? And it had the Bluetooth in it and everything. And she had her Bluetooth hooked up to it. She was a passenger in the car. I was driving back from San Diego. We just took a whole bunch of toys down to Balboa to the children's ward for Christmas time. We was coming home. My mom called me. I didn't answer my phone. Then she called my wife. She picked up the phone over the Bluetooth. I went to pass somebody and didn't look over my shoulder and almost hit somebody. I told the wife to get off the phone, disconnect the Bluetooth, and don't use it no more. Because I almost hit somebody, almost ran somebody off the road because I didn't clear my blind spot because I was distracted listening to my mom's conversation with my wife. Okay? And it hasn't happened since. Because we don't use Bluetooth, that feature anymore. It is a distraction. Okay? So, with that being said, I'm done with that portion. I do want to let you all be aware of something that's going to be happening here on this base come middle July, end of July time frame. The trains are going to be running over here on Nebo, down in the warehouse area. You know, the guys over at Yermo are used to the trains operating. We're not. Okay, so if you are down in that area, just be aware that the trains might be moving. So if you see rail cars sitting there, and you're coming up to an intersection, slow down, and if you can't tell if the train is moving or not, just because there ain't an engine sitting right there, they might be pushing the cars backwards. Okay? Slow down. If you can't tell if they're not moving or not, stop, look, get a good eye on it, make sure it ain't moving before you proceed across those tracks. Also, if you work down in the warehouses and you're walking across the tracks, also be aware that the trains might be moving. And don't try to beat the train. Yeah, they're only going about 10 miles an hour, and that's the top speed that they're going to be going. But a 330,000 ton train is going at 10 miles an hour is still going to take about 300 to 400 feet to stop, because all that weight is still, all that inertia is still pushing that train. Okay, and that's at an emergency stop. Okay, you're not going to win with the train. If it hits you in your car, that train's going to be fine. Your car's going to be messed up, and you might possibly get hurt. If you're walking between warehouses and the train's blocking the road, you're just going to have to wait. Do not climb on the train. Especially if you try to climb across the knuckle where the two connect together. Because if they just got done pulling, and now you're crawling, and they're getting the engine situated, maybe loading something up, and now they're going to start pushing backwards. You step on that knuckle, and it pushes backwards. It's going to shift, it's going to jolt, you're going to fall between the tracks, and that train's just going to keep on going because no one knows you're there. Because you're not supposed to be there. And you're going to get hurt real bad.